Good morning. Welcome back to the Broadcast Retirement Network. This is BRN AM for Monday, August 12th, 2024. And our top story today, assessing the implementation of the blended retirement system. And joining me now to discuss this and a lot more, Andrew Cohen is the Director of the Office of Financial Readiness for the Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense. Andy, it's great to see you again. Thanks so much for joining us on the program this morning.
Thank you, Jeff, and thank you for having me back. It's been since I think early 2021. I went back and I looked at the tape, and at that time I think I had a COVID beard. And I maybe look better with it. I don't know, but it's great to be back, and thank you for having us.
And we appreciate you coming on. And this morning we're gonna kind of break up our conversation, obviously in the two segments. Let's talk about the blended retirement system. There was a report given, I think, issued by Congress or given to Congress in May. But let's take a step back. Would you mind just catching us up on what the blended retirement system is and its implementation date, just so we're on the same page?
Okay, sure. So blended retirement system is just as it sounds. It's blended. It combines both a defined benefit component and a defined contribution component to service members' retirement system. Prior to that, they were covered by what we can call a legacy retirement system based on the high three of their salary with a multiplier of 2.5%. The changes to moving to the blended was the defined benefit dropped from 2.5% to 2% times years of service, and it added the defined contribution plan with a government match up to 5%, 1% government contribution up to 4% match to service members' TSP contributions, and they're automatically enrolled in TSP, the Thrift Savings Plan, which is equivalent to a 401k or 403b for those who may not be familiar with the term Thrift Savings Plan or TSP. Individuals are automatically defaulted in at 5% of their salary, so that they automatically get the match after 2 years, and they're vested after 2 years. The government 1% starts, I believe, 90 days after service begins. And there are several other interesting components of the blended retirement system. In addition to the TSP, during the window between 7 years to 12 years of service, if the individual is still with the department, they are eligible for what's called continuation pay, which is a bonus paid in exchange for additional years of service. And then the other major component or unique feature about the blended retirement system is service members who complete over 20 years of service and retire with the 2% times years of service pension defined benefit. They are eligible to take a part of that annuity as a lump sum payment upfront. And so, again, unique things which have unique training requirements to that. Another interesting feature about the blended retirement system and the TSP component is if a service member decides to opt out of it, the next year they're automatically re-enrolled at 5%. So you really have to be out of it to be out of it.
Yeah, I mean, you have to, and that's, what you're describing, Eddie, really aligns with some of the features in the private sector. Of course, the TSP is by far the largest DC plan in the world, I think, but some of these design features really align with what's going on in the private sector. Andy, do you have a feel, before we get into the report, and I apologize, but I just want to ask you, how many service members or veterans are covered? Do you have just a general? It's not a quiz, so I'm not asking you to the number, but.
And so, I mean, I think, and this is part of the really good news story of BRS. Before I kind of throw out some numbers. So under the legacy system, only about 85% of individuals who enlist or come into service as a private, shall we say, or seaman first class, whatever, as at the lowest pay grade, who enter the service or who are commissioned, only about 85% actually make it through a whole career. And that's because the military, you need more specialists and junior enlisted than you need general officers and things like that. So with 20-year cliff vesting, about 85% left with no retirement savings. With the blended retirement system and the TSP component, that there is now a portability component to the retirement system. And so currently the Thrift Savings Board, or otherwise FRTIB, which manages the TSP, they report that about 1.4 million members accounts are BRS accounts. Now that's a combination of individuals who are currently serving and who served under BRS and have decided to keep their accounts in TSP. And the report uses December 30th data, which was about $28 billion in accumulated retirement wealth. But I just actually emailing this morning with a colleague, he provided me some updated numbers. So there's about 1.4 million accounts. And at the end of June, the retirement wealth held by the individuals having BRS retirement accounts in TSP retirement accounts is now $33.4 billion. And that represents about 5.5 years over only 5.5 years of BRS. So we think that's a great news story that you have about 1.4 million people who may not have enrolled into TSP under the legacy system because there was no match, now are covered and have portable retirement wealth of $33.4 billion. That's a pretty astounding feat, I think.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think that's amazing. And they walk away or can walk away at some point. That's all portable assets, and they can roll that over. They can keep it in the plan. It's the cheapest plan in the world. I don't know why, my personal opinion, I don't know why they would want to leave the plan, but that's entirely up to them and their family. But Andy, there was a report. I just want to focus on some of the other findings in the report. I think there was a report to Congress delivered in May. Any other key findings that are pertinent in terms of coverage, in terms of financial security, which I want to talk to you about in segment 2, but any other key elements you want to mention?
Yeah, so if you recall, when we talked earlier back in 2021, we talked about the financial the steps that the department had to do to transition the workforce into blended retirement, because there was a certain population that had the option to stay with the legacy system or to opt into blended retirement. And so we had to train about 1.6 million service members in the plan, but that also involved making sure they understood basic financial literacy and all of that. And so we just didn't talk about the plan, but we went all the way back and reviewed everything from basic investment concepts, basic savings concepts, from compounding inflation, learning about diversification at very high level and things like that. And then we developed training not only for that opt-in population, but now for anyone who comes into BRS, they get training on the plan, not only once as they enter the service, but they get training throughout their career, because not everything applies when you're a young 20-something young man or woman, and your focus isn't on 20, 30 years from now. And so we talk about the importance of planning and saving for retirement, some of the key features of the BRS, such as the portability feature. And then when we get to the vesting window, they receive training on, again, vesting, what that means. And then when they hit the window for continuation pay, we give them training on continuation pay. And then when they get ready to separate, whether or not they're separating because they served 4 years or they're retiring at 24 years, they get training on what to do now, especially with their options with their TSP, whether to keep it in, roll it over, and understand that if they decide to cash it out, the taxes and penalties that they may pay on it. And if you're retiring, then we have lump sum training and a lump sum calculator to do that, to help them understand what the future value of money and what they might be giving up in terms of a annuity that is adjusted for inflation every year versus taking a reduced lump sum payment and that. So we have all these things. We look at retirement training as just a part of holistic financial well-being training, so that an individual can be in charge of their money both now and in the future, and can handle financial shock both now and in the future.
Yeah, Andy, as I said, I need to take a very quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk more about financial literacy, recruitment and retention, and how our military men and women and their families are doing during these challenging economic times. You're going to want to stay tuned right here on BRN AM. Now is your opportunity to co-create content around any topic on the First Lifestyle and Wellness Network. Reach a global audience through our platform and co-own exclusive branded content. All of our programs are available on demand and also as audio-only podcasts, so you can take us on the go. Broadcast Retirement Network, available anytime, anywhere, and on any device. Well, Andy, thanks so much for staying with us. Really appreciate you hanging around for segment number 2 this morning.
Thank you. Again, I'm glad to be here and happy to help.
Yeah, and look, I think that all the work that you all have done, the military has done, moving to this blended system, clearly it's worked. I mean, it's built a tremendous amount of wealth. I guess anecdotally, my question, I have read, I'm not a military person, but I have read that there in the past have been some challenges recruiting people into the military, and retirement benefits, like any benefit in the private sector, has been used as a recruitment tool. It's like, hey, you come work for us, we're going to have a company match, we're going to have an annual profit sharing contribution, you get the ability to save. In your estimation, anecdotally, has this blended retirement system helped with the military's recruitment?
It's a great question, and I think the answer really is it's too early to tell. Because we're just now seeing some of the cohort, the opt-in cohort, go through continuation pay. Well, some of them were eligible for continuation pay and all that. But what I will tell you is that, yes, the recruiting environment has been challenging for a number of reasons over the last few years, but retention numbers continue to stay strong. But we also know from our own research and our surveys that there is, once individuals enlist, and they're just saying we recruit single soldiers and basically retain military families, because as you go through the life, you tend to maybe fall in love, get married, you have a family, and then it really becomes a family decision as to whether or not to stay. But through our annual status of forces survey that we administer, and there are questions related to satisfaction, overall satisfaction with the military, desire to stay in. And there are a number of questions related to financial literacy and preparedness that Congress has mandated, and we actually do a report to Congress on it every year. We see a strong association between those who have experienced or reported financial challenge over the last 12 months, increased stress, stress both work stress and family life stress, less satisfaction with your job, and therefore less propensity to re-enlist. So as I think you indicated earlier, or maybe in our pre-chat, there is a strong presence or correlation or indication of how one's financial well-being affects job performance and ability to stay with the military or with a private company if that's the case. And so again, we continue to invest a lot of resources in taking care of our people through the financial well-being lanes and other support lanes, because we know that for some people, financial well-being involves having two couples earning money, which means that spouse employment is a big issue for the military as well. And for spouse employment, a lot of that involves in childcare. So we know the equation to financial well-being in the military includes not only, do you understand basic financial literacy and have those behaviors, but do enabling conditions such as, can my spouse find a job, especially if we're moving from one location to location, and do we have childcare, also affects the overall financial well-being and satisfaction of service members.
Andy, you talked about in our first segment about the education around the blended retirement system, and you mentioned some of the other things that the Office of Financial Readiness and the military is doing to educate family members and veterans. And you also talked about in this segment about how people look when you're deployed. That puts a lot of financial strain and a lot of strain on a family. If one family member, for example, is deployed to Europe or to a war theater, that can put a lot of strain. Can you talk a little bit about some of the resources and the tools that the office has developed to support those family members who are, the family that's left behind while the other member is deployed?
Yeah, so the department has amazing support systems for service members and for families, ranging from installation counselors, not only financial counselors, but military life counselors that you may find on any military installation at a military family readiness center. And if the member is in a Guard or Reserve unit, normally the state family liaison office operates similar types of resources. My office operates a contract for about 300 financial counselors that augment the military services counselors, especially in the hard to reach areas. They kind of do it on a geographic basis to help Guard and Reserve service members, along with helping on installations where there might be a surge capacity. In fact, we actually have some financial counselors who have moved forward into Poland and Romania to support troops that are deployed there as well. And then we also have Military One Source, which is operated by the Office of Military Community and Family Policy, which has a 24/7 call center that they can talk to a family life counselor or get in touch with a financial counselor if need be. And of course, that all is outside the realm of what the individual unit might offer in terms of a support system. For example, the Navy has an ombudsman system where folks can seek help, be it pay issues or any other type of issues. And then most units, I grew up in the Army, shall we say, in my service. We had what was called family readiness groups that kind of provided a lot of that support. And there's normally a stay behind detachment that is there to help, work pay problems at the back end if someone's deployed and things like that. So the military does have a very strong support system to help not only those that are deployed, but just those who are in garrison and training.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Andy, other things, do you mind sharing in our last couple of minutes together other initiatives that the office is thinking about doing? So, obviously there's a robust blended retirement system. There's a lot of training. Are there things that you're thinking about rolling out or planning to roll out in the next 12 to 18 months that you can share with us?
So my office, working with the services, we continually try to stay abreast of what's going on, what challenges are happening, and make sure our counselors, leaders, and service providers are have the tools they need and understanding to take care of service members and families. For example, we talked earlier about the Secretary's memo and the need to develop a well-being tool. So not only did we develop the tool, we developed training and had training for our service providers on how to use it, administer it, and those type of things. Last year, the department rolled out dependent care FSA eligibility for service members and families to have accounts if they were eligible to have dependents have a dependent care FSA. So we developed training on that to help educate the force and to educate our service providers to, again, help folks do that. We developed training on basic needs allowance, how to determine if someone might be eligible for basic needs allowance, which is designed to provide some supplemental income to lower enlisted folks that might have a larger than normal family to help with in terms of addressing food insecurity. And we continue to, again, just assess what's going on and where new training might be needed. We talked earlier about recruiting and retention. One of the things our office did was a lot of folks, think that, you don't make a lot as a private in the military, or you won't make a lot at all in the military. And you could make more working at McDonald's or Starbucks for, $20 an hour. And so we developed an infographic that recruiters can use in the field to kind of lay out, the various, base pay and the allowances and the tax advantage and all that versus, a $20 an hour job, so that a recruiter could kind of push it across the table as something to talk about, not so much with the prospective recruit, but with whoever that recruits influencers, be it a parent, a college coach, or whatever, to kind of say, do you understand that, not only will they be covered by a retirement system that includes a portability thing, they have these other benefits such as healthcare and those type of things. So we get involved in a lot of things, trying to kind of make the life better for service members and families and improve readiness that way.
Andy, I lied. That's not my last question. My last question, as you were talking, the U.S. military, it's the finest fighting force in the world, and it's the finest fighting force that it has ever been. Do you ever compare notes with your peers in other countries? I mean, do you ever have that opportunity, for example, with your counterparts in Britain? I mean, I know that there's not always direct connectivity, but they're an ally. And I have to think that our allies may be doing something similar, because they want to recruit and retain. And I just anecdotally just wondering if you ever have an opportunity to meet or talk to, your counterparts in other countries.
So it's a great question. And I will tell you that in my current role in the current office, I have not directly interacted with other militaries. But our recruiting and retention folks and our military personnel policy folks do that on an ongoing basis, to include various exercises and things like that. And we have contributed in other roles that I've fulfilled when I was on active duty and in the personnel finance business. I spoke with members of other militaries that came through to learn about how the Army was doing business, or DoD was doing business. And even when I, worked between my active duty military career and this career, when I worked for a large nonprofit that provided emergency financial assistance to service members and families, I'd be at various conventions, such as the Army's Association of the Army's annual convention, and I would talk to members of leaders from foreign military folks who might be passing through the exhibit floor about who we are and what we do, and how the military and private organizations in support of the military take care of service members and things like that. So I have done it in the past, and my office does it indirectly, but the department does do it on an ongoing basis.
Well, Andy, congratulations are due to you, your office, the U.S. military, and all the successes it has. Best of luck, and we'll catch up with you in the future. But we really appreciate you having you on, and all the work that you all are doing in support of the men and women who are really protecting us every day, whether they're on shore or in theater. So thanks so much for joining us, and we look forward to having you back on the program again very soon.
Thank you, Jeff. Look forward to it.
That wraps up this episode of BRN AM. Have a topic of interest, someone you think we should talk to? Drop us a line. And don't forget, for all the latest curated news and lifestyle, wellness, finance, tech, so much more, all in one place, check out today's edition of our daily newsletter, The Morning Pulse. Want to search our archives, check out our latest content? Then visit our website. We're back again tomorrow for another edition of BRN AM. We'll have a very special guest and another important topic. Until then, I'm Jeff Snyder. Stay safe, keep on saving. And don't forget, roll with the changes.